Yep, to the yep. You already know what time it is, man. It's your girl P.O.C. Turn your radios up, spread the word, spread the message, man. It's Friday, so you already know how I'm coming, man. It's November 17th. It is 10 a.m. in the morning. You gotta get up anyway, so why not get up with me here at 900 AM WRD 96.1 Word Radio. You already know we live on Facebook, so definitely tap in. We want to hear from you. Yes, you. Everything we do is a FUBO effect, so you can give us a call 215-634-8065, toll free 1-866-361-0900. I got a special guest on the line with us right now. She's representing the city of Philadelphia in a great way. She's going to be here to give us some tips and some tricks of how we can save during the holiday, and also so how we can save on some of our bills as well, because we're going to turn that heat up. Global warming is definitely in full effect, and it is cold outside right now. So we got our special guest on the line. Good morning. I'm going to bring you in. How are you feeling this morning?
I am feeling great. Love a Friday. How are you?
I'm good, man. Go ahead and introduce yourself and let the people know exactly who they're listening to.
Absolutely. Hey, Philly. This is Flora Cardoni. I'm the field director with Penn Environment. We're an environmental nonprofit group here in Philly, and we work statewide to help make sure everyone has clean air to breathe, clean water to drink, protected public lands, and a safe and livable climate to call home. So I'm super excited to talk with you today.
No doubt. And Flora, when it comes down to the work that you're doing, environmental justice is now becoming a big conversation, right? It's now becoming a conversation where people are actually, tying it into social impacts and social justice issues as well. How would you say social justice issues is affecting your work as you work heavy in the environmental justice field?
Yeah, I mean it's a part of everything that we're doing, of course, because these environmental issues, intersect with all of the issues that are affecting our lives, whether it's the fact that people living in cities have hotter average temperatures in the summer because there's fewer trees and more concrete, or that they're suffering from more air pollution and higher rates of asthma.
Mhm.
And certainly as climate change worsens, those impacts will get even worse as people live in houses that don't have proper heating or insulation in the winter, and spending more money on utility bills, or don't have air conditioning in our hotter summers. So certainly, as climate change worsens, all those problems will continue to get worse too.
No doubt. And you're not just in the city of Philadelphia, you're in the state of Pennsylvania. So, when you think about climate change and parts of Pennsylvania it's affecting, do you see it happening more in the east, the west, the north, the south? Like where do you see it happening at?
Yeah, we're experiencing the impacts of climate change already all across the state, statewide. The thing we tend to say is that climate change will keep making Pennsylvania hotter and wetter. So the big things that'll mean is that summers will be hotter, annual temperatures hotter. There'll be more days of really extreme heat. Those 90, 100-degree days will happen more often.
Wow.
Of course, hotter temperatures also mean worse air pollution because hotter temperatures mean more smog, so it's harder to breathe. And certainly that can impact people's health. Extreme heat can impact people's health. We're already starting to see two more instances of extreme weather events, downpours and flash flooding. I know we all remember the hurricane a few years ago where 676 was like a river in the middle of
Yes,
the city.
yes.
And so that stuff is happening here. It's only going to get worse, but it's really happening across the state too.
And what do you hear, Pennsylvanians saying, about the situation? What do you hear like of the outpour or the testimonies?
Yeah, I think it's clearer than ever that this is a current problem. I think people used to think about climate change as an issue that was way in the future. And I think as we have more of these events happening where communities are flooded and people are tragically losing their lives, as happened in Bucks County just a few months ago, or as we have drought watches across the whole state like this summer, or even the air pollution from Canada that made our air orange here for a
Yeah.
few days. I think it's just becoming more and more obvious that this is a current problem. And whether it's young people I'm talking to who are concerned about what their future will look like, if they should have kids, if they're going to even really have a future,
Mm.
or adults concerned about their own kids and grandkids, or people that have asthma that are concerned about those symptoms worsening. People who are worried, yeah, just that they're going to be able to stay in their homes. Folks like who live in the Eastwick neighborhood by the airport that already has such bad flooding problems, that's only going to get worse.
Yeah.
So I think
That's
more
a
and more,
great point.
yeah. So I think more and more people are seeing these impacts now and wondering what can be done about it.
My job. And I want to ask you like two more questions about your job. I know we're here to talk
Yeah,
about
of
tips
course.
and tricks, but I want to ask you two more questions about your job. When it comes down to this new administration we have on the state level as well as the city level, we have Mr. Shapiro, Josh Shapiro in the and taking over as governor now, and then now we have Sherelle Parker taking over as mayor of the city. How do you see this duo actually coming in and talking about the social impact that environmental justice is having on the city as well as the state? And do you see them actually being held accountable for some of the things they said on the campaign trail?
Yeah, I mean, I always hope that our elected officials prioritize, environmental action more and talk about it more often than they do. I think that Governor Shapiro and, incoming Mayor Parker have a huge opportunity to help people and help our environment at the same time. At the state level, there's certainly a lot that we can do to lower harmful pollution from the oil and gas industry, for example. Lower methane pollution, lower air pollution, and the Shapiro administration can really spearhead some of that. Here in Philly, there's countless ways that we can help, whether it's, making sure that we're putting solar on our schools and cleaning up our schools so they don't have asbestos and lead, so kids are safe where they're going to learn and
Yeah.
spend most of their days. Making sure our parks and rec department is fully funded so that there are parks for kids to play in and rec centers that people can go to after school. We can put energy efficiency programs in place to help people save energy and save money at the same time. So there's certain and so much more that we can do to help people, get litter off our streets by focusing on zero waste
That part.
initiatives. So there's certainly a ton that can be done, and I think there's so many issues, of course, in the city to prioritize that if you're listening and you really care about like the park in your neighborhood getting funded, or your school, getting cleaned up or getting solar panels, you should make your voice heard and tell the Parker administration that you want to see those changes. Because the more of us are making the case for this stuff, the more likely it is that she'll see it as important and actually want to do something.
No doubt. And I wanted to just back up. I know we kind of just jumped in because we're excited about these type of topics. So we kind of jumped in, but I just want to back up a little bit to give people some overview about what Penn Environment is and what do you do as a field director? Like, what does that actually mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So Penn Environment is an environmental nonprofit advocacy group. So a lot of what we do, and especially in my role as a field director, is help people make their voices heard to their elected officials. Because the more of us that are making our voices heard to the people in power, the more likely it is that they'll prioritize the issues we care about. So if that's fighting climate change or promoting environmentally friendly practices, cleaning up our air and water, things like that, the more of us calling for them to do it, the more likely it is the politics will be pushed forward and they'll actually see those things as important. So a lot of what we do is helping people make their voice heard. If you're on our email list, we'll send our text list, right? We'll send actions out so you can write to your elected official easily when a bill is coming up for a vote. We'll sometimes get calls into offices. We do a big annual citizen lobby day in Harrisburg where we help people meet with their state legislators face to face. So that's a lot of what we do. We also try to make sure these issues are in the media, social media and our newspapers, on TV shows like this are so great. So that people, know about these topics and are talking about them, because that's how we can get people involved too. And then we try to take all that support directly to our elected officials, and work with them to push good policy forward.
Definitely doing the job, and doing the work too as well. So Flora, I want to get into the conversation about heading into the holiday season. And when it comes down to these tricks and tips where people can save, because it is cold outside. So I'm sure 80% of the city has their heat on right now and the bill is going sky high. So when it comes down to some of these utility bills, talk to us a little bit about some tips of how we can save some money this winter.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm excited to have this conversation right now too before Thanksgiving, because there's a ton of ways around the holiday season, but the winter at large that we can both save money, help our utility bills, which we could all use, but also help the environment too, help use less energy and waste less energy, which we know that a lot of that energy use is contributing to the climate crisis too. So it's good for the environment and good for our wallets at the same time. And some of that stuff has to do with just making our homes more energy efficient. So for example, sealing air leaks around our windows and doors with caulk or with weather stripping can save you up to $250 a year if we're, sealing the cracks and the seams, the openings to stop air leaks, it can help save 10 to 20% on heating and cooling bills. And that's just one example, having more efficient appliances, if you are making the switch, is something else that'll waste less money and therefore save energy. So if you're in the market for an appliance, choosing a more efficient one will save you money on your utility bills in the long run. Even just unplugging appliances when they aren't in use. I know we used to get told that all the time, like unplug things or use one of those power strips and turn it off. But you really can save up to $200 a year on electricity bills by just unplugging appliances when they're not in use. Because even when appliances are plugged in, they are using about 5 or 10% of a household's total energy use. So there's some of those tips and tricks people can do. And excitingly, there actually is a lot of money available right now from the federal government that will be available over the coming, this year and the next 9 years at least, that'll make it easier and more affordable for people to make some of these switches. So,
like things that we can apply for to help with, getting our house more efficient when it comes down to cooking and heat.
Definitely.
Okay.
So the Biden administration last year passed something called the Inflation Reduction Act.
Yeah.
The name doesn't really say much what it is, but one of the things that was in the bill is billions of dollars for clean energy tax credits and rebates to help make it more affordable for people, either through tax credits, like when you're paying your taxes each year, or through direct rebates, make it easier and more affordable for weatherization for your home and some of the energy efficiency tips we just talked about, for things like choosing an electric heat pump instead of a gas heat pump if you're getting a new heating and cooling system, or getting an induction stove instead of a gas stove. We can talk more about the stoves in a little too, talking about cooking Thanksgiving dinner. It's just direct money for that, for putting solar on your house and some of those bigger things too, buying an electric vehicle, new or used. There's a lot of money right now in tax credits and incentives. And some of those are big purchases that we can't all do, but the energy efficiency rebates, those programs will be coming in more and more from the state and help with this for sure.
Okay, so when that happens, we definitely got to make sure we get you back on so you can elaborate a little bit more on those tips so we can learn some and fill out those applications and make sure we're first in line for sure. Because I know some people need it and I know I want it for sure. If that's a thing that can happen, I would definitely want to save on some money. So when it comes down to cooking, I heard that you got some tips and tricks for us when it comes down to saving money during the holiday season as far as cooking.
Yeah, so one thing that we have been talking to people about is kind of cooking healthier for the holidays. I know a lot of us like to use our gas stoves. I'm one of those people. I have a gas stove in my apartment too. But unfortunately, more and more, research is coming out about actually the amount of indoor air pollution that gas stoves produce. Commonly, these gas stoves are producing more indoor air pollution than would be allowed by, appliances outside the home. So it's releasing pollution into our home that can lead to things like asthma, especially in children.
Yeah.
And these pollution levels can be pretty unsafe. So one thing we've been talking to folks about is when it's time to switch a new stove. I'm not telling everyone to go out and buy a new stove right now, but when it's time to buy a new stove, to consider switching to an induction or an electric option.
Okay.
They're much cleaner. They don't release that air pollution into your air. There's tax credits available, like I mentioned, from the Inflation Reduction Act to get money back from making that switch, which will make it more affordable than buying a new gas stove. But also induction stoves, I don't know if you've seen one, but a lot of the complaints about electric stoves are they don't cook as fast, they're not as good, but induction stoves really are, even faster, even more efficient than gas stoves. So that's one thing I want to make sure folks consider.
But an induction stove is hooked up like an electric stove.
Yes,
just for people who need to understand.
Yes, it just uses magnets to cook instead of the electricity, but it is plugged in. Yeah.
Okay. And how does this help when it comes to cooking? Do you feel like we can still put a turkey in there?
Yeah, absolutely. It works just as well. We've done some things like having a professional chef come do a demonstration. So it works just as well, and really it can like boil water even faster than the stove you have now probably.
Okay.
And can cook things just as fast, if not faster. So that's just something to keep in mind. And as you're considering a new stove, these rebates, these tax credits exist, it'll make it more affordable, and you won't be releasing this air pollution into your house, and you'll be saving money on your utility bills.
So then also when it comes down to the work that you're doing, how can people, find more information before I go into some more questions? How can people find more information? We got about 5 minutes left about, Penn Environment, and if they want to go get some resources directly from you all.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for asking that. I can't believe we're running out of time already. One thing, of course, is you can find us. Penn Environment is PENN Environment, one word, like the state of Pennsylvania. You can find us on social media at Penn Environment everywhere, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Certainly, that's a way you can stay updated. We also share just articles and things going on. You can visit our website, pennenvironment.org, where we have updates and information. But the best way for people to stay up to date is joining our Mobile Action Network. Our Mobile Action Network is a program where we'll send out a couple texts a month, and I personally am the one that sends them. It's not a robot. I'll send out a couple texts a month with an urgent action, something to write to the DEP or your member of Congress or your state legislature about. We'll send you a text about what it is, a form you can click to just put in your information and send it along, or to invite you to an upcoming event in the area or online. So it's a great way to stay up to date with the most urgent actions and things going on. And to join that, you all can take out your cell phones right now and type in the number 484-229-0050, 484-229-0050. And in the body of the text, just write Penn Environment, press send, and that's how you'll be added into that to stay up to date, which I think is really, really the best way.
I think it's a really cool way for people, who are interested in learning more about environmental justice on a day-to-day, basis. And it's crazy because I actually want to do something similar through newsletters and things of that nature, so people can stay up to date on the type of interviews that we do here at WURD. So I would like to talk to you a little bit more about that. But in the space of talking, before we wrap up, I want to talk a little bit more about sewage pollution. I know that was a topic when it comes down to the Delaware River, and we got about 5 minutes, but we can quickly just squeeze this in. When it comes down to sewage pollution, can you tell us a little bit about how's that affecting the Delaware River and how people can get involved in helping with solutions?
Yes, absolutely. So taking a little bit of a veer away from the talk about energy, of course, one of the issues on the top of mind for people is having clean water to drink, like all of us. We released a report a few months ago that found that 15 billion gallons of raw sewage is being dumped into Philadelphia's river and streams, just because of the kind of combined sewer system we have, where stormwater and sewage flow together in pipes beneath the city and then are sent to a wastewater treatment plant. But a lot of that ends up being sanitary sewer overflow that goes into our rivers and streams. So we found that 15 billions of gallons are entering our rivers and streams each year, meaning that our local waterways are contaminated for 128 days or more per year. So one thing we're doing is calling on the city of Philadelphia to kind of fix their sewage system to make sure that's not happening, and actually make sure that we're not discharging the sewage into waterways, make sure that our sewage system's updated, but also that we have things like green stormwater infrastructure in our communities, open spaces, trees, plants in our cities help to absorb some of that stormwater, so it's not just running off and down the street, because the problem really happens when the systems are overloaded with water.
Facts.
So we want to make sure there's more green stormwater infrastructure, make sure that, we're doing everything we can to make sure all of our rivers and streams are open to water recreation. But there's actually one other thing about our rivers that's happening right now. So I just learned this myself, but there's a loophole currently in our DEP, the Department of Environmental Protection, in terms of water pollution for the Delaware River. So the part of the Delaware River between Philly and Chester, PA, there's allowed to be more pollution dumped into that section of the Delaware River than anywhere else along the Delaware River.
I believe it.
Yeah, it makes
Because
sense.
that's where one of the, well, I believe it to be the largest
Yeah.
incinerator in the United States is in Chester.
Yes, absolutely. Chester has some of the worst environmental pollution of anywhere in the country. And of course, cities are often kind of scapegoated for pollution. But of course, people living between Philadelphia and Chester and in those cities deserve access to clean water, just like anyone else around the Delaware River. The Delaware River provides drinking water to 15 million people. We should all be able to like boat or fish or recreate in the Delaware without worry. And so one thing that is going on right now is that there's a public comment period to close that loophole and say that actually the section of the Delaware between Philly and Chester should have the same water standards as the whole rest of the river. And so we're definitely calling on people to tell the DEP that they want to close that loophole, want Philly to have the same amount of protections as anywhere else along the river. And you can find that action on our website, and maybe I'll send it to you to include in the comments on the Facebook Live too.
Please do. Yes, please do. And do you have the website just off the top of your head for people who are listening live?
Yeah, it's pennenvironment.org is our website, and the action is there somewhere,
Okay,
like
okay.
in our clean water section.
Gotcha.
I'll send you the link to post on Facebook. Or you can all come to Penn Environment's Facebook and find it there. There's a public comment period open until November 21st. So everyone has time to click that action and make your voice heard for a cleaner Delaware for all of us.
No doubt. And then this is, you would think that this is something that would be talked about, a little bit more on the news. You think that this is something that people will be spreading the word about because it is affecting so many different counties between Chester and Philadelphia. So it's not just affecting Chester, it's affecting the counties that are, considered to be the largest counties in Pennsylvania, the biggest taxpayers in Pennsylvania. So it's crazy. You would definitely think that something like this will be talked about. But I appreciate you, Flora, for coming through, helping to revive the airways this morning here on 900 AM WURD 96.1 WURD Radio. Again, thank you for the work that you're doing. And I really just hope that we can stay connected so we can continue to push that word out. And I want to see how we can make a bigger impact, when it comes down to environmental justice here in the city of Philadelphia, making it a greener, safer space. So thank you again for everything that you're doing.
Thank you so much for having me and spreading the good word, and excited to come back anytime.
No doubt, man. You already know what time it is. Turn your radios up, spread the word, spread the message. About to go to a quick commercial break. Stay locked each and every Friday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. I'm live here, WURD Eco Word. Turn your radios up. We'll be right back.